Hello everyone. Rec Room is my favorite place to spend my free time. I love playing all the experiences on Rec Room. Experiences that were made by people just like me and you. Customize your avatar to however you see fit. Use our desktop editor to express your creativity. You can earn serious cash with our platform. We support every video game platform there is, even virtual reality. So don't wait. Join the fun for free. Wait. Join the club. Wait. Oh, okay. Join Rec Room today. Hey, boss. Did I do good? Oh, okay. You know, I've something I want to say about the script. Don't you think that, like, it, like, kinda sounds a bit like Roblox? Back in 2016, when Rec Room first came out, the Rec Room team really had no idea what to expect. A lot of the developers had prior experience in the games industry, but this was different. It was a free-to-play indie VR game. One of their philosophies that they still use even to this day is that they want the player base to playtest. They'll focus on shipping a feature to the point where it's playable, then they'll take feedback from the players and change those features with updates. After the game was out for a bit, they were really surprised. Like a lot of early VR devs, they discovered how interesting VR social interaction could be and wanted to explore it more. They saw how there were people from all around the world playing their game. A lot of people were labeling the game as the Wii Sports of VR. This was something that Rec Room fully embraced. They've said it many times during AMAs. Something that I find interesting is how the games in Rec Room were actually designed around social interaction. You know how in Paintball when you die, you kind of just awkwardly sit there for 3 seconds before you respawn? And if you traded with another player, you're forced to, stare into their soul. Guess what? That's on purpose. They could get rid of that if they wanted to, but they don't. It's all because of that unique social interaction that you get that you don't really get in any other VR game. I mean, what other VR game do you get to stare into the eyes of your enemy after you kill each other? It also encourages those people to say things to each other, but I think that part maybe isn't really the best idea in an online PvP game, and I don't really think I need to explain why. Another example of this is the quests. The quests were designed with a huge emphasis on teamwork. Beating a quest on your own without any teammates is physically impossible. You're required, mostly, to work with your teammates to victory. Players are all one hit, which means you really have to stay on top of making sure everyone's arrived. Rec Room wanted quests to force people to be a band of brothers type thing, and build trust with each other. Sadly though, I don't really think this holds up today because the Rec Room community is a little different now. A lot of people don't even use mics and just leave on like the first level. Either way, this was their whole selling point. Games that had a massive emphasis on social interaction, interacting with people in unique ways. However, something started to happen. Something big, and the Rec Room devs wanted in on it. That thing was custom rooms. They initially started out pretty innocently, but it quickly escalated. People started making crazy things with the limited tools they had. A lot of people would use objects or even the base rooms themselves in ways the Rec Room team didn't even know was possible. They expanded the tools a bit when they saw that people were using very unconventional methods to pull off certain effects. People would make even crazier stuff though. They ended up adding some logic chips that let you use this almost visual scripting language to make even crazier stuff in your rooms. This kept happening over and over and over, where the players would be really creative with how they do certain things, and the devs try to expand the tools to fill that gap. But then, the Rec Room team had a very devious idea. What if, instead of making the games themselves, what if they just let the players make the games for them? Now, there were a few issues with this idea. Tools that the player base had were significantly less powerful than, what the developers had access to. They were completely aware of this, and they would try their absolute hardest to make the player creation tools as advanced as they could possibly be. Around this time is when they started to fully shift their focus over to player created rooms. Because of this, they also had to shift away from Rec Room Originals, which were, the things that made the game unique in the first place. This is kind of when the red flags started to show up. It didn't really help the case that around this time is when they released Rec Room Plus, which is their premium subscription. One of the features that came with this premium subscription is that you can now start to make real world money off your creations. And let me tell you, when money gets involved, things get dirty. People can add microtransactions to their rooms, and trust me, people definitely took advantage of that. Because of this, people could also make an insane amount of tokens. Previously, it'd be rare to have more than even 5,000 tokens at a time, but nowadays people just casually have hundreds of thousands of tokens. For the first few years of the game, VR was the only way of playing the game. It was supposed to be a VR game. But in mid to late 2018, they released a non-VR mode into the game called Screen Mode. Initially, it was just looked at as a secondary way of playing the game, but as time went on and the Screen Mode player base grew substantially, it shifted away from being a VR game and focused on just being a normal flat screen game. This seemed like a pretty nice change, as it let people who originally wanted to play Rec Room but didn't have a VR headset play the game, but it also opened the floodgates to literally anyone who saw the game on the App Store, saw it was free, and just downloaded it because why not? In 2020, they changed how the reward system of the game worked. Before, it used to give you tokens for any time you completed an activity, but the new reward system made it so instead of getting tokens, you just got a random clothing item. You could also sometimes get tokens from it, but when you actually had the chance to get tokens, you'd barely get any. You can get a max of 100 tokens from completing an activity, when before you could get up to 500 tokens. They tried to justify this by saying that the clothing items you could get were worth more value than what you could originally get, but this was ultimately pointless because you'd rarely actually get something that you wanted, so it was pretty much just as good as getting nothing. This decision worked to slowly turn tokens into sort of a premium currency, a currency that you can only get from paying for with real money, or making rooms that also made money for Rec Room. Sure, you could still technically get tokens from being a free-to-play player, but especially with the insane prices that they've been putting on items recently, good luck actually getting anything worthwhile. A little over half a year ago now, Rec Room announced something called Rec Room Studio, which was a plugin for Unity that let you use the Unity editor to make rooms in Rec Room. This might be kind of a controversial take, but I think this is a really bad thing for Rec Room. One of Rec Room's main hooks is that you can create stuff on any platform. Creation is not restricted to certain people by any means, and all rooms in Rec Room had a certain feel and art style to them, one that made it stand out from all other social VR platforms. Rec Room Studio just throws all that out the window and makes it so the only people who can make decent rooms are people on PC. Sure, you can still use the Maker Pen, but good luck making a hit room with it. Another reason I think this is kind of dumb is because it's not even necessary. The Unity editor doesn't have to be more powerful than the Maker Pen. If Rec Room put in enough work and effort, then the Maker Pen could be just as powerful as Unity. But instead, Rec Room gave up on trying to make powerful creation tools and just handed over the work to a company who's been doing it longer than them. Imagine if Minecraft released an update that allowed you to natively import 3D models into the game. That'd be pretty stupid, right? Nobody complains that the Minecraft creation tools are too limited, because everyone's happy to work within those limits. Those limits are what make the game unique, give it character, and make it accessible to a lot more people. This is kind of what Rec Room's doing. Now that you can use the Unity editor, what makes this game any different than something like VR Chat or Roblox? When I first saw Rec Room Studio, I was actually excited, because I thought of how detailed rooms could be now. But now that the gimmick of seeing non-Rec Room stuff in Rec Room has kind of worn off, now I see how bad this could be for the game. When Rec Room first started out, they had something pretty unique and interesting. But as they got bigger, they felt the need to try and turn their game into something that would please everyone. But as we've seen many times in the past, anytime you try to make something that pleases everyone, it just becomes a lost and confused mess that isn't sure of what it is. Also, if you enjoy Rec Room, then that's completely fine. I'm not trying to convince you that the game is bad. All I'm saying is that Rec Room has made some really horrible decisions in an attempt to make a cash cow. I'm definitely not the only one who feels this way, and I'm just upset that whenever they do this, people get angry, and then nothing happens. Like, they just keep getting away with it. Especially for how much Rec Room is valued at, and how many employees it has, we should really be holding it to higher standards. I've been playing Rec Room for almost 6 years now, and the fact that I'm ashamed to be part of this game really says something. I want the game to be better, and for that to happen, people have to be harder on it. There's tons of horrible issues that this game has, like, it's blatant advertising to kids and how they're lying about how their target audience is kids, but all that stuff's for another video. I just want to say thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and if you made it this far, then liking the video can really help out the channel. Subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this in the future. I kind of have all summer to just make videos because I don't really have much else planned, so yeah, bye. Unique social interaction that you get. It's all because of that unique social interaction that you... That's a stupid joke. I'm not gonna make it unfunny. It's a RecTuber kind of joke. 500 tokens. They tried to justify this. They tried to justify this by. So it was pretty much just as. But this was ultimately point. They tried to justify this by